Hi, my name is Dan Hauptman, and I'm one of your instructional coaches in the Palmdale School District. As we have more kids working on their Chromebooks and the necessity to monitor students as they work increases, Hapara has added some features that we thought was important to show, as well as review some of the well-established features. Remember, we want to focus on good student agency above all. It really shouldn't be used as a gotcha. That being said, let's take a look at a few of the features of highlights. So as you can see, I'm already in Hapara. I'm in highlights. I can see Old Yeller is active. He's currently on his Google Drive. And as you notice, as he switches between what is active, you'll see that jump to the top and become bold. If I notice that he is in a spot that he shouldn't be in, for example, maybe he's checking the local scores, I know he's opening that new tab, and you can see that he's now on ESPN. And if you notice over on the right-hand side of your screen, you see exactly where Old Yeller Fido is. So you'll be able to see everything that the student would see as we work today. So I'm going to go ahead and close on that tab. And if you'll notice, it'll ask you why you want to close that tab. And if you notice, we kind of center around CKH. I'm going to use this site is not related to our current task. I'm going to close that tab. And if you'll notice on the right-hand side with the students, they will get that information as well. All right. So that is just a real quick way of how we can guide our students into the correct tabs we want them to stay on task. As you can see, Fido has now closed out that tab and he's now back into Google Classroom. You can see the icon right there. Now, often we want to get our students' attention, and we can do that and get their eyes up on you while they're working. And so to do that, we'll use the pause screen. Now, when we do this, it'll give you a 5-second countdown. It'll pause them for a maximum of 15 minutes. You really shouldn't need more than that. And now you can tell that the student is being told that your attention should be on the teacher. And it even says your name on there. When you're done talking to them, you can unpause those screens, and now they're back the way they need to be. Now, the guided browsing is in two different forms, and that is a focus session and a filter session. So let me explain. A focus session says, I only want you on these sites. That's it, no more, no less. Filter says, I do not want you on these sites. So it filters out those sites. So we're going to take a look at a couple of those. Let's start off with filter because that's kind of the easiest one to understand. So if I start seeing that my students are doing a lot on ESPN.com, I can enter that in. I can have up to 10 links total, and I can block that out. I'm going to go and give this as a 5-minute session. This is for the entire class, or if I notice a single student is doing it, I can do that for the student, or I can schedule this for later on at some point, Monday through Friday between 7 and 4. I'm not going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and start that session. This is for all my students. And so now as it counts down, you can see that the filter session pops up for the student. That's the warning that I'm keeping an eye on what they're going to, so that even if they do open up a new tab and try to go to ESPN.com, it's going to be blocked. Are you in the right place for learning? There may be a better site for you to use. So I can take a look at that, and then if you notice up on the teacher screen, you'll see Hapara Highlights extension blocked. So that means it's blocked what the student's trying to get to, and when they close it, there it goes. I can review that session. One leak was prevented. I can see exactly which one that was. So they kind of give you an idea of what's going on while the students are working. You get exactly what is being filtered out. So I'm going to go ahead and end that session. There we go. And now it kind of gives the student the heads up that, hey, you're no longer being limited. Also under guided browsing is focus session. So for example, if there are a handful of sites you would like the students to go to, you can go ahead and put them on those sites. So let's see here. We're going to do Wikipedia.com. We'll do math.com. And we'll do ESPN just because that's what we just keep using. We hopefully would never have to use ESPN unless we're looking at stats and statistics. Now I can give them access to the whole site or only a single page. I'm going to go and give them the whole site. I'm going to go and do that for 5 minutes, but the max you can do that for is 180 minutes. Keep all links that were introduced in this session open. I'm going to go ahead and say no, I want those to close when we're done with the session, or I can say yes, go ahead and keep them open for the student when we are done. And then do I want to have a restore of the student's original tabs? I'm going to say yes. So if my students are working and now it's time to move on to something else, I want them to be able to go back to where they were when they're done with me. Who's it for? It could be for students or the whole class, or I can also schedule this for later, but I'm going to go ahead and keep it the way it is. Now let's take a look and see what the student sees. Start that session. They'll get the countdown for me. And now the student will get the same countdown. They'll get 10 seconds, which is plenty of time for them to be able to get things all set up. There we go. And now they're in they're in focus session, excuse me. So I'm in guided browsing. It's focused. They can go anywhere inside the sites. They have that luxury. Now I can also be very specific. So let's say while the students are working, I do something on Andrew Jackson. And I see, okay, there's a site here for Andrew Jackson that's from the White House. I'm going to go ahead and copy this. And I'll come back here. And I'm going to go ahead and let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and review this. Whoops. I'm going to go ahead and end that focus session. You can see the students win there. And I'm going to add that link to it. Now, if you notice, it updates. And now on the student side, now they've got Andrew Jackson on the right-hand side. So you can always add those in. If you find something or you forget something, you can add them into this area here, and that's under the review. Once the time is done, or you are done with the teaching and the time, you can release all. It will release all the students. It'll give them a warning, and back go not only their previous tabs, but also all their tabs that they had open previously, which is really nice. And you can see them all right here in highlights. So that's guided browsing. Focus them on specific sites, filtering out what you don't want them to use. Now there's one more, and it's a little bit on the new side, and it's called freeze tabs. First, the students need to be on a site you want them to be on. In this case, we will use quizzes. I want them to stay inside quizzes. I don't want them to leave. I'm going to freeze that tab. They can go to the whole site, and we're going to do this for 10 minutes, and it's for the whole class. I'll get my countdown. They'll get their countdown here in a moment. There we go. And what's going to happen is that as a student, I can stay inside this site. So it's very often, especially like with Benchmark or StudySync or even something like quizzes, Blookett's another one, where you can't leave because another page has a different website title or a different website link. This right here changes. So if we freeze the tab, we can keep them boxed in where we want them to be. So now I can go in, I can enter the code. That works just fine. I can take a look at some practice things if I want to. So as a student, I am locked in here, but if I try to go into, let's say, we'll go back over to ESPN, our favorite. If you notice, it will not even let me go there. It closes out that tab. But because quizzes is the same, it allows the pop-in of a different tab, even though I'm locked in. So that's pretty cool as well. And when you're done, release all, and they're no longer frozen. So now if I were to let them, they could then go on to other sites. There we go. So just a real quick run through on everything. So you got freeze tabs, keep students where you want them to be on a single tab, or if the website bounces them out, it'll bounce them out with it. Pause screen allows you to pause the screen while you get the attention of your students. There we go. And then guided browsing. Focus them on a single site or a handful of sites and filter out the stuff you don't want them to go to. If you have any questions about Hapara and Hapara highlights at any time, please feel free to reach out to one of your instructional coaches. We would love to help you out. Have a wonderful day.